Hello and welcome. I'm honored to be joined today by Professor Jackson Nickerson, Dean of the Shavis School of Business at St. Louis University. He is a dean, systems thinker, and co-author of a new book, With a Bot and Prayer, Teaching and Learning in the Age of Generativity. Dr. Nickerson is a former NASA system engineer and a Brookings Institution fellow. He brings a powerful perspective and timely perspective on how AI can support, not replace, can support human learning and leadership. His book introduces the concept of formation first AI and the unique companion called an avaspar on AI that mirror our best intentions and helps us become who we are meant to be. Dean Nicholson, thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to dive in.
Ben, thank you so much for inviting me. And I just will remind you that this book is co-authored with Mary Ellen Joyce. We had a
Thank
marvelous
you.
time writing it, and I look forward to sharing it with you.
Thank you so much. We're going to start with a really interesting question. Mary Ellen, your co-author, journey is especially relatable for many academic leader. She started with the firm no, and you can see that in the industry, to AI, firm no, not out of fear, but concern for integrity, learning, and human formation. Jackson, what helped her and your team move from resistance to thoughtful engagement, like you did here at the business school at St. Louis University?
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. Resistance is not uncommon. Now, with Mary Ellen, our relationship goes back many years. I was working with her for 9 years at the Brookings Institution. She eventually left, I left, and she went to Boston College, where she hired me before she was working for me. Now I was working for her in developing a new andragogy, learning for adults in a Master's of Science of Leadership. It was that long relationship and the trust that built up between us that I think may have had a positive effect, in which I believe I did encourage her to give AI a try, to simply ask it a few questions. And I think almost immediately she was stunned with the responses that she got back. Stunned in a good way, how rich they were, how flexible the LMM was. Now, that doesn't mean it always had the right answer and that you didn't have to think, but she was stunned in terms of the dialogue she could have with the LLM. So, in some ways, I don't think it took that much. Once she dipped her toe in the water,
Mhm.
she jumped in pretty quickly.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, let me switch to the industry itself, to academia in general, and even some businesses. That there is a resistance, and I heard it, I saw it. There is that fear of using AI, that is fear of the unknown, especially integrity always come in. Um, can you give us, the state of that resistance in academia from your own perspective? And also, this is an interesting question. Do you think that resistance is healthy? Given the fact, for example, in the business world, there is a fear that if you don't jump into AI right now, you're going to be left behind. Do you see that happening also to academia as well?
Well, let's see what I can do. Of course, I don't know all of academia, but I just came back from an AACSB conference with 600 or 700 deans. Now, again, I didn't talk to every dean, but I spoke to a lot of deans, and many of the sessions at the conference were on AI. Some schools have been working on AI for 7 years. Now, the tools have changed, particularly since ChatGPT came out in November of 2022.
Mhm.
What I see is a spectrum. On the one hand, there are schools that are jumping in and moving very quickly. And I would say it's not quite a free for all, but anything that's AI is good. That's a caricature of one extreme.
Mhm.
A caricature of the other extreme is that we're buying blue books, we're saying there's no AI. What students need right now are personal interactions, particularly with the cultural shifts
Mhm.
of students after COVID and some other factors in which it's very difficult for them to find positions.
Mhm.
Now, those are extreme views. In the middle are, I think, schools that are experimenting with AI, often in terms of having a course or infusing AI into every class. I'm not so sure that that's good or bad.
Mhm.
I think there should be some caution because here's the key issue.
Mhm.
The issue is not to use AI or to use AI. That's not the
Mhm.
issue.
Mhm.
The issue is how can we use AI to complement learning, to enhance learning, to deepen and broaden education? Ultimately, that's the question. And if we're using AI to address that question, I think things will go well. Right now, it's just a spectrum, and I'm not sure everyone has a good understanding of whether what they're doing is going to enhance learning or degrade it.
Interesting, interesting. There are a few concepts that I want to introduce to the audience, because, as I say, this will be multiple segments all about the book and also some advice to the academia, but also to the business world as well. I just want to go back to the title itself. Why the word prayer with a bot? Why did you add the word prayer on that title?
Oh, that's interesting. No one has asked me that question before. For two reasons. Uh, I'm teaching at a Jesuit university, and Mary Ellen is also at a Jesuit university. And the book itself is not religious, it's not really focusing on Catholicism, but it is using the 500-year history of the Jesuit tradition because it provides a language that is both academic and educational in nature, but also holistic about the person.
Mhm,
So we were thinking about how to make that connection in a subtle way, or maybe not so subtle way. And something came to us about World War II. There was a song which had a lyric on a wing and a prayer. And we were looking for a metaphor
mhm,
that would symbolize how, at least in World War II, the wing and a prayer were pilots who were shot up trying to get their crew back home in one
mhm,
piece.
mhm, mhm,
And we view that as trying to deal with a world of uncertainty, of volatility, of complexity, what is often called a VUCA world. And we're trying to navigate our way to what is a safe spot for our students. And so we thought that metaphor with a twist,
mhm.
instead of on a wing and a prayer, with a bot and a prayer, was a useful metaphor for our purpose.
Oh, this is outstanding. I like the statements you made there about safe spots for our students. Indeed, AI is bringing a lot of challenges, and one of them is also the safety and integrity and stuff like that. Thank you so much for this. So we're gonna move to another concept, which is really interesting. I like it. My first reaction was that it's sparky because it sparked a conversation or something like that. But I want to hear the story behind this. In that process, so we meet Sparky. It's a generative AI that gradually became something more than just a tool. For those who are unfamiliar with it, what exactly is Sparky?
Yeah,
And how does another concept, Avaspar, differ from a chatbot or productivity assistant?
great. Uh, Sparky is an Avispar. And the question is, well, what's an Avispar? To be candid, it's a name we made up. And the name is a conjunction, a mashup of two names. An avatar, kind of like
Mhm,
a movie, but people know what an avatar is in gaming,
mhm,
and a sparring partner, someone to talk to, someone to communicate with. And we put those two together to call it an Avispar. Now, that's a definition, but what does it mean in reality? If you go to an LLM, a generative AI tool today,
mhm,
you can ask it a question. It's called a prompt. It's
mhm,
going to provide a response. That response has no context about who you are. It has no instruction that's customized to you in terms of how you would like it to communicate to you,
mhm,
how you would like it to filter, massage the way in which information is given to you. An Avispar is something in which you want to provide some initial priming. For example, there was this great study done at Harvard in which there was priming given to a bot, and the priming
mhm,
was how to use the Socratic method
mhm,
as a tutor to students. And so the solutions were uploaded into the LLM, yet there was a priming that said, don't give them the answer. Engage in a dialectic inquiry with them. Provide hints and suggestions. And that priming changed the way the students could interact with the LLM. In the same way, you can prime an LLM in terms of leadership formation. So that's the priming part. What we also learned is that LLMs drift because they're updating their probability matrix all the time. So one has to engage in what we call hygiene, which is repriming roughly about twice a week. Now, on top of that, if you're using your Avaspar all the time,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to become more reflective of who you are
Yeah, yeah.
and who you want to be. As you present yourself in terms of who you want to be, the bot learns and provides a mirror back to you, which is why we talk about it as a companion. The Avaspar becomes co-specialized to who you want to be. And that's why we call it an Avaspar, because it's very different than going to any old LLM and typing in a question.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question is, that's, to keep that human touch with the use of AI. You don't want to totally disconnect the two. It's a big challenge. Uh, and okay, well, my final question is very, very important, and which is actually directed to other dean, provost, and leadership at the university that are trying to lead the institution in this huge shift in the industry. Would you say the turning point in your work with AI was more about the technology evolving or the human mindset shifting?
Great question. I think there's a sequential answer. First of all, it's important to recognize that this is a technology and not to anthropomorphize it. Even though we've given it a name, we're not trying to make it a human. It doesn't think like a human, it doesn't act like a human,
Mhm,
it's not human. Nonetheless, with that technological change, particularly with ChatGPT that came out in November of 2022, it created new opportunities. And my belief is that uh, some people are still trying to figure out what the opportunity is.
mhm,
And for us, we think we're adding to the conversation because most people view the opportunity as a tool that enhances productivity, that yields efficiency, that is a time saver, that can yield higher levels of quality, and all that may be true.
mhm,
So we reconceptualize an LLM as this idea of a formation companion. And the irony is, if you accept the notion that you can prime and through hygiene sustain this companion and continue to have it reflect who you imagine you can be, then the technology can make us even more human.
more
It can
human
accelerate our formation.
information, yeah.
And given all the changes happening to higher education, I think ultimately the universities that succeed in accelerating personal and professional leadership formation will be doing a marvelous service to our students.
Mhm.
And frankly, are more likely to survive in what is likely to be a very difficult environment over the next decade or two.
Okay, in 20 seconds, before I introduce some of the links I have here, in 20 seconds, how do you see academia in the next 5 years?
Well, there are a lot of trends and shocks happening, and almost all of them are working against academia.
Hmm,
So if I put on my economist hat, we have tremendous overcapacity for the supply of students at hand,
I see.
or we call it demand of students at hand.
Mhm,
Moreover, if we look at those shocks, many of them are about making education more productive, more homogeneous, more sources of education. So not only is it a demographic issue, but it's an issue that's going to accelerate the overcapacity, which, if it's like every other industry,
mhm,
that capacity has to shake out in some way. So
mhm.
it's a very difficult time to to be in higher education. And it's going to require transformation, which is even more difficult
Yes, yeah.
when institutions are under threat. So I think leadership is going to be greatly challenged, not just over the next 5 years, but I suspect over the next decade.
Oh, this is outstanding. Thank you so much for your time. And once again, I will see you again on the next segment, where we will be talking about Avaspar and why should we care and how it contributes to the formation, and not from a religious perspective, but from a formation, from an academic perspective. For those who are interested in this book, the book is available online. And by the way, you can get a complimentary copy right now, and it's available online. Just go and Google with a bot and a prayer, or you can scan that QR code that's here, and I will provide also the link on my description section. I will love to hear from you as well if you have read the book, and post your questions, and I will share it with Dean Jackson so he can answer it in the next segments. Thank you so much and have a great day. Do you have any final notes?
When you get to the website, all it takes is for you to enter your email address, and you can choose a PDF version or an EPUB version of the book free of charge that will load onto your smartphone or some other device.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dean Jackson. I'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Ben.
Bye.